You just have all of this, these reasons to buy records that are flashing in your eyes, and it's not something that's going to go away.
Savior love is lifting me higher than I've ever been lifted before.
The higher the climb, the farther the fall. Passing the time, it's angry.
Vinyl is officially back. Vinyl is officially back.
The City of Saints, the City of 100 Steeples, La Métropole du Québec. Montreal has been known by many names. Maybe it's time to add La Ville du Vinyle to the list. The city is home to a vibrant nightlife, and with a host of year-round music festivals that connect Montreal's storied past with its present and future, it's no surprise that Montreal's love affair with vinyl is still alive and well. From the moment records caught on in the 50s, they remain the city's most popular music format for the next 4 decades. Even when CDs took over in the early 90s, vinyl retained a loyal, local following. Audiophiles, collectors, and DJs continued purchasing records despite the format's decline in mainstream popularity. But a vinyl revival over the last few years has the physical format appealing to a wider audience. Nowadays, vinyl shopping in Montreal isn't just about seeking dusty gems in secondhand shops. Record stores, both new and old, can be found every few blocks in some of the trendiest Montreal boroughs, from Mile End to the Plateau to downtown. Popular vendors like Death of Vinyl cater to traditional DJs looking for quality used records to spin, while others, like Au 33 Tours, offer new releases and mint collectors' albums. In-store and online record sales are strong. In fact, the vinyl consumer market is growing more rapidly now than ever since CDs came on the market. And the rising number of record purchases in Montreal mirrors data from studies in key global markets. In the UK, 2014 vinyl record sales topped 1.3 million for the first time in 18 years. That's up 67% from the previous year. And US vinyl sales in 2014 were up 52% from the previous year. That's the highest they've been in over 2 decades. While these figures only include the sale of new releases and have a long way to go before they mirror the peak years of the 1970s, many believe they reflect a long-term trend. If so, it's likely that 2015 will see vinyl sales continuing at a record high.
Tout est prêt à tourner. Cela a demandé bien des étapes et bien des heures de travail.
Music media formats have changed a lot since recordings were first marketed to the public. At the turn of the 19th century, shellac gramophone records were heavy, fragile, and produced low-quality sound. The advent of the vinyl record in the 1940s provided the public with lighter, more durable, high-quality sound. Record players had become more affordable, and vinyl revolutionized the recording industry's ability to produce and distribute popular music more cheaply and effectively. For the next 4 decades, vinyl reigned supreme. Around the mid-'80s, the compact disc became more affordable, and by 1990, CDs firmly replaced vinyl as the preferred music format. Vinyl sales dropped, and many record pressing factories shut down. In recent years, however, the tables have been turning. Local bands and beatmakers are increasingly choosing vinyl formatting for their album releases, and Montreal-based cassette manufacturers and vinyl brokers like Duplication.ca are seeing a significant spike in vinyl orders as a result.
Usually a vinyl job's around $2,000 for quantity from 100 to 300. That's around that on average.
And just for comparison's sake, is it cheaper to do a CD job? Because I know that you also do CDs here.
It depends how many you want, but definitely per unit, a CD job is way cheaper.
Would you say that you've been getting more vinyl orders within the last couple of years?
Absolutely. It has been a very big jump. I'd say in my own experience, 4 or 5 times the vinyl orders I got 3 or 4 years ago, like per year. People like vinyl a lot because of the artwork. You can have these huge covers, gatefolds, and just go crazy with that and I have some really gorgeous artwork I can show you here. Some examples of what you can do. See, this is very nice things that would fit as well on a CD. And here you have not only the beauty of the cover, but also the texture. If you feel it, it's a matte cover. So we can do matte or glossy. This is kind of reminiscent of Exile on Main Street, Rolling Stones, or just like very old style kind of thing. So the sky's the limit what you can do on a vinyl cover.
The way to have a high quality sound is with vinyl. The range is wider, so you hear a lot more instruments, and then on CD example, which is compressed. So that's one of the reasons, and the other reason is because they sell. Most bands do 300 units, which comes out to approximately like $9 to $10 fully packaged each. So if they sell it at 20, 25, 30, so if you do the math, it could be really interesting for them. So that's the reason why they do vinyl.
Oui, il y a une certaine résurgence parce que c'est un effet de mode, il y a un effet d'entraînement, il y a un genre de hype des médias. C'est aussi un peu une réaction à la panique engendrée par justement l'érosion des ventes de CD. Tu sais, Montréal, on est une ville d'hipsters aussi, là. C'est comme Pop Montréal, toutes ces affaires-là, ça nous donne des idées, tu sais. Puis on sauve des shops, il y en a qui durent depuis longtemps, là, comme le Blick qui existe depuis une éternité, 33 tours, Beatnik, ça aussi c'est... Mais tu sais, 33 tours, Beatnik, c'est 2 vieux de la vieille aussi qui sont comme tout. Socialement et politiquement, quand tu dépenses ton argent iTunes ou à Bandcamp, mais il y a une partie de ton argent qui sert à financer un bâtiment en Californie pour une gang de doutes qui sont bien crampés. T'sais. Mais si on prenait ce même argent-là et on l'investissait ici, ben ça ferait qu'il y aurait une gang de doutes qui serait capable d'avoir une compagnie qui fonctionne sur un modèle différent puis qui fait que ton industrie se solidifie.
That's why many music chain retailers like HMV and Archambault stopped selling vinyl locally in the mid-2000s. While both have started again, their vinyl sales now largely occur online. The recent upswing in vinyl popularity also impacted Canada's only pressing plant, RIP-V. Located on Montreal's South Shore in St. Lambert, Rip V pressed vinyl for major labels across North America for nearly 8 years. But overwhelmed with the high demand for pressings over the last few years, the company closed its doors in mid-January 2015.
We had a pressing plant here in Canada called Rip V, and they unexpectedly closed. So a lot of clients got left in the lurch, and we had to pick up the slack with other plants, and some of our jobs we had to, complete elsewhere. So it was a very big mix-up, and it delayed a lot of jobs. And now there's Record Store Day, and everybody wants to make vinyl, so the delays are impossibly huge.
There's no more plants here, but there will be one eventually, apparently in Calgary, in Alberta. So yeah, so it's looking good. It's within the talks, but it should happen within a few months. So we're looking into that because we definitely want to bring back 100% made vinyl in Canada.
Calgary's Canada Boy Vinyl is slated to fill the country's vinyl pressing void in April 2015, while in central Canada, Isotope Music in Burlington, Ontario is scheduled to start pressing in July. The imminent arrival of both speaks to the resurgence of records.
I think we're going somewhere with this. I think people are coming back not only because of the sound, because I'll tell you personally, I don't see much of a difference apart from scratches and stuff, but it's got a charm, The analog sound definitely has a different kind of distortion and so forth and so forth. So I can see why a lot of people like vinyl and cassettes.
By 1988, though, cassette sales had nearly doubled, CDs had exploded, and the market for vinyl LPs had shrunk by nearly 2/3. In response to this consumer defection, a number of major record stores have removed vinyl albums from their shelves altogether, and other retailers are expected to eventually follow suit. So, is vinyl dead? And if so, do consumers have any say in its demise? Let's ask some of the people.
Death of Vinyl as a store name just came from the fact that it was in the headlines. If you were working in the DJ industry in the mid-2000s, that was what was said all the time. Is this the death of vinyl? Is this the death of vinyl? Is this the death of vinyl? You can't put a question mark at the end of a name and have something that exists online, so it just became Death of Vinyl. And La Fin du Vinyle, it's the same thing. Est-ce que ça c'est la fin du vinyle? It was always this notion that vinyl's over. Vinyl's over. Montreal has always been incredibly spoiled when it comes to record stores. I mean, we've just always had way too many. Just enough to saturate the market to its maximum, I find, which is great. It means that we get good prices and a lot of choice, and people that come here are always amazed at how good a city this is for vinyl. I think it has to do with the fact that there's a stronger urge on the part of people to consume music. There's probably some way of statistically proving or showing that the Québécois or people living in Quebec, especially in Montreal, are huge consumers of music. New music only came out on 12 inches in the 80s and 90s, and it wasn't until the mid-2000s that it would be standard for people to bypass vinyl altogether. So during that period, there were just huge palletfuls shipped all over the world overnight, you know, the just so that record would get played 2 or 3 times in a club, maybe here or there. Ecologically speaking, it was a disaster. And musically, it led to a lot of diversity in the 90s, but by the 2000s, there was a lot of consolidation and diversity was sort of killed as well. And so it was one of the reasons, you know, that behind the fall of vinyl as a DJ tool, until, you know, now I guess vinyl is officially back as well as a DJ tool. So that's, you know, that's very good for business and for my heart, because that's where my, you know, that's what I love, so.
because I come from the DJ background of things, I always think to myself, well, who do you think kept it alive all these years, you know, from 95 to mid 2000s, right? The DJs are the ones that kept it alive in very, very ridiculously small numbers compared to when people start buying Miles Davis reissues and Urban Outfitters start selling vinyl. For an entire generation who might be, let's say, under 30, they grew up with little to no contact with no format. Some of them barely remember CDs, right? Because they probably forgot about CDs when Napster came around and things like that, right? So a lot of people who are in their 20s, they've never even gone to a music store. 24 Hours of Vinyl started right here, actually, 3 years ago. And it was really just a really, really simple idea of, it's the month of December, we all have sort of cabin fever, it's really cold outside, we don't really want to go outside. And I just had this random idea of, you know, let me invite a few of my friends and we'll just relay each other, we'll set up a webcam, we'll broadcast the whole thing. And then I was just thinking, what silly name or silly concept can I think of to bring the whole thing together and package it in a sort of snappy way. And that's the name that sort of came to my mind. And so now we've done 12 editions so far in, I think, 5 or 6 countries.
Like, I love early 70s funk, late 60s funk. Unfortunately, I wasn't there to experience it firsthand, but if I can have, you know, an original artifact from that era, that means something to me. Especially when it's in really great shape, you know, it's something that I appreciate a lot, and I think as well as a lot of other people who come here. We just attract a lot of collectors because we have a lot of rare records that other shops might not have. And the quality of the records that we put out on the floor, in terms of the condition that they're in, perhaps demands a bit of a higher price that oftentimes DJs aren't willing to pay because they're just gonna, you know, they want their records just to play them out. We started off next door, we had a small shop, and we've grown exponentially. So yeah, every year is bigger and better. There's more and more new records coming out on the market by contemporary artists as well as reissues. We're seeing more and more labels popping up, producing records. More and more clients, obviously, from all the different age groups, different backgrounds.
The first people I met in that scene are older, and it was definitely like a bridge between us. Music, of course, at first, but then records. You know, the fact that we can share that physical format. That's for like my personal experience. It really bridged the gap between the generations, and it also opened up all that history that they lived, how they used to work in the record shop, who used to buy what, who used to come to the record shop, what record shop they worked in, and what records they were buying there, and they were buying those records in other record shop. So it gave me like that whole perspective of how Montreal used to be on the record side of things. That I would have you can't read that in books. Like, nobody like documented that. You can only learn it from oral history, and it's super cool because it's something that we're losing nowadays. Oral history. People are all self-learning stuff, looking on internet and stuff. So being able to talk with people and like, oh yeah, I bought that record there because I was playing to that party and at that club, and then you make all the connections, and you can like get that kind of bigger picture of what it used to be. But you can only get that if you bridge the generation, and vinyl is definitely a way to do it. I think, you know, in anything in life, people will try to identify culturally or socially as what they love. And vinyl definitely brings that idea of community, you know?
Many within the Montreal vinyl community cite the superior sound quality of analog over digital as a main reason behind the vinyl revival. But does vinyl really sound better? What does analog offer that digital can't seem to match?
Concernant le vinyle, bon, je le disais de temps en temps au début, mais là, après 3 saisons, on arrête de parler du concept de l'émission, là, mais même avec des amis, des fois, je parlais de l'émission, puis ils me disaient ah ouais, mais wow, c'est quand même intense de mettre juste des vinyles. Puis je leur disais ok, mais vous avez pas compris, c'est pas juste des vinyles. Donc ça prouve que les gens, au niveau du son, voient pas trop la différence. J'ai la table tournante, j'ai les vinyles, mais après, l'équipement audio, non, je fais pas vraiment la différenciation parce que ça dépend de la pièce, ça dépend des enceintes, ça dépend de l'ampli. Donc, je fais pas nécessairement la distinction.
It's so dependent on where you are, what you're listening to, what the conditions are, whether the digital is going to sound better than the analog. You know, it's always, or which sound is going to be better. But for me, there is no doubt that if you put less than 8 minutes on one side of a 12-inch record, spinning at 45, and you do it right, there's nothing beats that. Nothing.
Are vinyl lovers a unique breed, able to interact with music on a different level than most? I invited some of the documentary crew, all with different musical tastes and backgrounds, to a vinyl listening party. I wanted to see if they could differentiate between the sound quality of analog and digital tracks. I played tracks in both formats, one time in analog and once in digital, but in random order. Attendees listened to each version and took notes on their guesses and what they heard.
I felt a little bit more bass in the first one, maybe a bit more width as well in the stereo field.
Based purely on the sizzle. There was a little bit less sizzle in the CD version of the second one, I thought.
I thought that because the first had more texture, and whereas the second, the notes seemed cleaner, crisper, each note was a lot neater.
For that one, it's jungle. The drums popped a lot more with the vinyl for me. The CDs sounded a little bit more flat.
It's all a toss-up for me.
Although the listening party results were mixed, there was no questioning the excitement in the air and the passion for vinyl at a local Montreal record market.
I don't think it's a trend. I think it's actually just something that people are into for like the quality of it. So I guess I don't think it's coming back. I just think like people just have liked the sound of it.
I mean, I'm told that vinyl is experiencing this huge resurgence. I only got into it recently, and I feel very outside of most of it because I don't collect for the sake of collecting, and I don't even DJ with them. I actually just use them for like producing and finding samples and stuff. So I'm usually trying to find really obscure stuff that no one else has. It's stuff that was made on equipment and by musicians that with skills and backgrounds that don't really exist anymore today. So.
Basically, the human hearing goes from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. And what they do in MP3s is to keep the file size small. They'll chop off what we don't need, what we don't hear. And it's been proven that we feel a lot more than way above 20 hertz. If I were to play a 20 kilohertz test tone right now for you, you'd feel it right here, pressure in between your head. You don't necessarily hear it. I think that as humans, we can all appreciate beauty. Like if we look at a flower, it's a nice flower, we can go, that's a nice flower. Or we all see a dolphin jump out of the water, we can all go, wow, that was amazing. And I think we all know quality, and the industry or lives push us a certain way, but I think, you know, it's always missing. There's something missing and we keep searching for it. And so and vinyl has always provided that, where CD has obviously fallen short.
While not every local vinyl store has managed to stay afloat in recent years, enough signs point to Montreal's healthy vinyl culture and the growing popularity of records. It goes beyond the community-oriented shopping experience and vintage sound. It seems that in a digital age, where we consume virtually faceless music, vinyl has allowed consumers to physically reconnect with the music they love. And with music lovers now having ample access to that addictive record high, it's fair to say that now more than ever in the past quarter century, vinyl is alive and well in Montreal.